Have you ever had anxiety around starting a new project? That moment when you sit down and you have all these ideas, all these thoughts, you may even have a very specific, clear vision. But when it actually comes to executing the project, you panic, you freeze, you think, oh my God, what if this doesn't work out? You start making a list of all these reasons of why the project could fail, or the things you don't have, or maybe the connections or the people you wouldn't be able to talk to or get to. Well, guess what? You're not alone. That's exactly what I experience every time I sit down and create. Now, the concept of anxiety in creating is not a new topic, but it's something that I've always dealt with, and I've had different ways of managing it and coping with it. But here's the thing that changed everything for me. Recently, I was listening to an interview with Tony Robbins, and he talked about how decision making is like a muscle. It's something that has to be used, and it is one of the most overlooked areas in our lives that we can use to improve and create change in our life. Now, as he was saying that, I began to think about the last 3 weeks leading up to listening to that podcast, and every moment I had experienced extreme anxiety, this moment of panic or freezing and thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do, where I would just sit there and I would just think about all the possible outcomes, and it would always lead to inaction, me not doing anything. I realized that whenever I took immediate action, I no longer felt anxiety. For example, I was thinking about moving, and I had the opportunity pop up. A friend had this house, and he offered it to me, but I only had about 2 to 3 weeks to find a house to get there. Instead of overthinking it, my wife and I said, you know what, we're going to go for it. And so we said yes. We didn't even have jobs yet. We didn't have anything lined up, but that actually brought me more peace and confidence because I took action. I said yes. Another example is I was applying for jobs and I had an interview. I was really nervous about the interview. It had been a long time since I'd done an interview. And in that moment of anxiety, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go out of my way. I'm going to create this awesome pitch deck. I'm just going to blow them out of the water and create something that no one's seen. So I immediately got up instead of thinking about this interview, and I spent the next hour creating this pitch deck. Immediately felt better. I began to realize and make the connection that taking immediate action helps remove the feeling of anxiety around starting a new project. Now, what was interesting to me is I thought, wait a minute, I'm not someone who's a procrastinator. I would say, the moment I get up till I go sleep, I'm doing 100 things. I've got 4 different projects on the burner. I'm writing, I'm creating, I'm applying to jobs, I'm doing all this stuff. If you looked at my life, you would not say, now there's a guy who's not doing enough. So I thought to myself, why is it that I spend all this time working, but yet I experience a lot of anxiety if taking action helps remove anxiety? And I made this connection, this realization that my taking action was not actually decisive decision making. It was busy work. That what happened is what I call managing resources. I would think of all these resources I had available to me, and instead of taking action, I would think about everything that could happen that I could do, and that would create panic and anxiety. Then to deal with that anxiety, I would come up with something else, another tiny little creative project that maybe I was really excited about, and I would go work on that. And what was in effect happening is I was creating this busyness, but that busyness was never resolving the main thing that was causing anxiety because I never took decisive action towards it. I created a smaller step and I was spending all this time over here while actually not dealing with this. So, of course, my anxiety remained. Now, what's the difference is when I took decisive action towards what I actually wanted, even if it was a small step, I felt peace and I felt confidence, not because I had maybe answered the big question, but because I had taken a practical step, and in my body and my mind, I felt that moment of relief, I'm doing something about it. So this completely changed my approach and my thinking to how I create. And my encouragement to you is if you are dealing with anxiety around starting a new project, the best thing you can do is to just decide to do it. And by taking immediate action, you will notice a huge difference in not feeling anxiety. And instead of orbiting around the idea in the state of anxiety, stuck in that gravitational pull of anxiety, by taking action, you break past that inertia and you're able to propel yourself towards the next thing you need to do. Now, usually once you take one step, you begin to know what the next step is. And that is how you keep moving forward. Now, I want to go back real quick to the concept of deciding that this is important, because after I made this realization of I need to take immediate action, I then got stuck in this pull of, okay, well, I feel that I need to make more progress on my screenplay. I am currently writing the 4th draft, and I've come really far. And before, I had this great strategy where I would write on the weekends for an hour to 2 hours, Saturday and Sunday. It was a great time. I didn't have any distractions. My mind was clear and focused. But I began to feel that wasn't working. I was at a stage in a stage in the screenplay where I really needed to be in it every day to be able to stay focused and to make the progress I wanted. And it's easier to write when you're constantly in the world. But I began, instead of deciding to do it or taking action, I thought, okay, you know what? I am going to strategize how to do this. So what I ended up doing is I spent the next couple of days just in turmoil. Like, maybe I could write in the morning before I go to work. But I'm kind of, it's hard for me to focus. Maybe I could write at the end of the day, but I'm really exhausted. I don't know if I could do it. And I was in the state of constantly trying to think what the best option would be for me. But then it occurred to me one moment when I was thinking about it, I was like, I just am going to decide to write every day. That's it. And so I gave myself this challenge. I am going to write 1 page a day. That seemed like a pretty simple challenge. It would get me in the mindset. If I wrote more, great. If I didn't, no big deal. Simply by deciding to do that one thing, guess what? My brain found a way to make it happen. And I have consistently been writing every day for over 2 weeks now. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, like, woohoo, big deal, 2 weeks. But that is a big deal for me, because in that time, I wrote right after I made this decision, I got a cold. And I got this cold that was nasty. It lasted for like 5 days straight. Guess what? I wrote. I dragged myself out of bed with my head feeling like a balloon, snot coming out of my nose, and I wrote for an hour. And you know what? I loved it. When I sat down there, it was one of the best parts of my day. It's like I forgot I was sick. And I wrote even in the middle of a work day. Many of those times, I had this idea, I can't work right when I'm working because I'm too distracting. I'm wearing my work outfit, which reminds me of this job that I hate, and I'm distracting. I get phone calls from customers, and things bother me and all this different stuff, and I just decided it's not possible. Well, guess what? Because I decided to write, I wrote. I wrote in the middle of the day. I came home, I wrote before, even on my lunch break, and it wasn't a big deal. And sometimes I'd write in the morning, sometimes I'd write late at night. The whole point is it didn't matter, because instead of me trying to make a plan and then figuring out how to make that work, I simply just decided that I was going to write no matter what. And that's all it took. So here's my challenge to you. First and foremost, figure out what it is you want and just decide. Don't think about the plan. Don't think about the strategy. Just do it. Secondly, see how much the anxiety leaves when you take immediate action. Don't just decide. Take immediate action. And I would love to hear from you if you experience this kind of breakthrough and change. Because look, I'm sharing with you what I'm learning and researching. And it's impacting me enough, I do not plan to stop. At least while I'm in the writing stage. So, and as well as if you would like to join this 1 page challenge a day, do it. Join me. I'm writing right now. My wife's doing it. One of my friends is doing it. If that would help you, and maybe it's not writing, maybe you're a musician, then give yourself, I'm going to work on music for 5 minutes a day. I don't know, whatever the equivalent is. If you want to paint for, 10 minutes a day, whatever your constraint is, figure that out and do it and see what happens. And at least for me, I took 3 weeks. I said, I'm going to do this for at least 3 weeks. That way I have 3 weeks, and 3 weeks you can, for the most part, create a new habit, a new pattern for thinking, which is why I tend to do 3 weeks. And I can already tell you that near the end of this 3 weeks, I do not plan to stop, and I love it so much. And in fact, I would love for you to take on that challenge yourself, as well as hear the feedback if this makes a difference for you. Now, I'm so excited to tell you this because it's so simple, and we can make things feel so big and so crazy, but I know I'm so passionate about it because I want people, as I have experienced, to be free from the anxiety and being trapped in this orbit around our ideas and never making progress. Well, guess what? You now have the power. Decide, take immediate action, and change your life today. Do it.